something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, kicking off another brand new year in earnest now here on the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, which always makes me ask, who do you want in your foxhole? Thank you for being here on Real America's Voice and MTN. We're going to get right to it now. Here are three big things you need for this hour. Number one, there is a new illness to be aware of as we head into 2026. It's resistant to most forms of medical intervention. It's actually being called a superbug. Should we be concerned? We'll talk about it. Number two, the economy enters 2026 in far better shape than it was 1 year ago. But what will happen this year? The truth is nobody knows, but it will be most likely the biggest driver in the midterm elections. We'll have to wait and see. And number three, by far the biggest story of the new year, President Trump's bold move on Venezuela. Venezuela's narco-dictator Nicolas Maduro, just the latest person to find out that President Trump follows through on what he promises. When Trump says it, he means it. The U.S. military conducted a stunning operation in Caracas, Venezuela, early on Saturday morning. It resulted in the removal of Maduro and his wife, who are now being held in New York City, where Maduro will face trafficking charges for drugs and more. Same with his wife. Tensions between the U.S. and Maduro have been building for months, as you know, as Trump threatened Maduro to crack down on drug trafficking or else. And over the weekend, Trump made good on his promise. As Vice President J.D. Vance pointed out, Maduro has given several off-ramps for the escalation like this. He could have cooperated, but Trump has been crystal clear throughout the entire process. Maduro's actions have consequences, real ones, and not just the freezing of some assets. Listen to Secretary Marco Rubio say it like it is. Here he is.
Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this, we're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know.
Now you know, I've been telling you this for weeks. President Trump was going into Venezuela. He was going to go in hot. He did. Simple as that. Not only is Trump a man of action, he's a man of effective action. During the administrations of Presidents Bush and Obama, the U.S. invested trillions of dollars, deployed more than 100,000 troops to Afghanistan, suffered over 2,400 American lives lost in battles against the Taliban, only to later discover that Osama bin Laden had been hiding in Pakistan the whole time. In contrast, President Trump successfully apprehended Nicolas Maduro through a targeted operation, avoided a full-scale war or an invasion, 0 U.S. casualties, 0 casualties. But not a single piece of American equipment lost either. This is what President Trump had to say about it. Listen.
In the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people.
Dropping and stopping that flood of deadly poison. Pete Hegseth, of course. Obliterating Iran's nuclear program last year was another effective operation that everyone said couldn't be done. And then, when it was, they clutched their pearls and predicted a war that never came. This operation in Venezuela is much bigger than just Venezuela. Maduro had turned his country into a hellhole. and he was a partner in crime with China, Russia, Iran, Cuba, and other bad actors. Knocking Maduro off his post is a blow to all of those countries. When the Islamic regime of Iran eventually falls, and it will, probably soon, its terrorist leaders cannot run and hide in Venezuela. China and Russia have lost their main intelligence operations right here in the Western Hemisphere. Cuba and the rest also lost access to all that cheap Venezuelan oil, illegal oil, I might add, plus all of the Islamic regime's assets, their drone factories, military bases, now in the hands of the United States military. Just hours before we nabbed Maduro, he was meeting with the heads of communist China. That's right. Hours later, he was blindfolded and handcuffed aboard the USS Iwo Jima. This sends a resounding message to the rest of the world. It doesn't matter who you're in bed with. We'll still hold you accountable if you commit crimes against our people. America first. Of course, that's not the message that the Democrats and their friends in the media are trying to broadcast, the propaganda. No, it's pearl clutching all over again. An embarrassing defense of a totalitarian regime, of a ruthless dictator that has committed crimes against humanity and against this country. Here's Democrat Representative Becca Ballot, who presents herself as a champion of human rights, but is standing for Maduro, who violated human rights daily for millions, murdered children, imprisoned teenagers, among other atrocities. Listen to this filth.
Morning, Jonathan. Look, I'm angry on behalf of Americans, on behalf of Congress, and most importantly, on behalf of our service members who were put in harm's way. And this was not necessary. This was not legal. And we saw this coming. This has been the plan the entire time. It was never about narco drug trafficking. This was about oil. This was about minerals. This was about regime change. There is no legal justification for what has happened. I'm outraged that nobody in Congress was briefed, including our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, that the committees of jurisdiction received no briefing. And this is dangerous, not just because of what this will mean for Venezuela and the region. It matters for our moral standing in the world.
Yeah, we are standing morally in the world. Becca Ballot and all her colleagues who are spewing the same talking points are dead wrong. And either they know it, or they're lying, or they haven't taken the time to look at the legality of this operation. This operation follows the precedent set by the U.S. extradition of Panama's unlawful leader 37 years ago, Manuel Noriega. Remember Noriega? An extradition which was upheld by the Supreme Court, by the way. Noriega was convicted of drug and money laundering offenses. Maduro indicted 5 years ago for similar offenses. This operation in Venezuela, much like the one against Noriega, was the lawful execution of an outstanding criminal arrest warrant. Maduro, much like Noriega, has never been recognized as a lawful leader of Venezuela or anything for that matter. And that was true of Republicans and Democrats alike. God bless the U.S. military. God bless Donald Trump for being a man of his word, dropping the hammer. We're just getting kicked off in 2026. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Find more at stevegruber.com. Follow us on YouTube. I'll be right back.
Hi, it's Steve Gruber.
Let me pick up where I left off. This is a really important point, so let me pick up here. Multiple U.S. presidents, Democrats included, have routinely authorized deadly strikes against specific countries and individuals. Only five times has Congress ever authorized military action in 250 years. So please, stop. Under President Barack Obama, an American citizen killed via the administration's targeted killing program. Obama dropped tens of thousands of bombs on 15 countries, no congressional approval, and no complaints from Democrats. If Obama was permitted to order the death of an American citizen without any formal charges, then President Trump should certainly be allowed to apprehend a non-U.S. citizen facing an active federal indictment in the Southern District of New York, all without needing advance approval from Congress. Rubio and Trump both hit the nail on the head when they explained why Congress wasn't notified, because they can't be trusted. Listen.
Mr. President, did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved in it.
Sure. We call members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, you know. We had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. We went there. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
He is exactly right. And as an American citizen, that's what I voted for. Not only is this operation legal, it is completely justified. Take a look at this. This is Maduro's men mowing down peaceful protesters in cold blood with military vehicles. Look at this. Murdering them in the streets. This is the kind of government that people like Congresswoman Ballant are defending. They call Trump a dictator, while excusing the actions of actual murderous dictators. Maduro is a narco-dictator. He was followed in the footsteps of Hugo Chavez, erasing the lives of millions of families. More people have fled Venezuela than any other country aside from Syria. 1/3 of its population has fled the country, many to our own. Hundreds of political opponents have been arrested. Thousands have been killed. For those left who haven't lost their actual lives, they've lost jobs, retirement, savings, pensions. They eat out of trash cans because it's all gone. Like I mentioned earlier, Iranian militias, Chinese corporations, Russian intelligence operations all operate freely inside that country. And Maduro has made sure that Venezuela has become an operating base for all kinds of authoritarian regimes, the very kind of regimes that Democrats accuse the United States of being. It's laughable. These foreign powers have looted Venezuela's land, oil, gold, and institutions. It's been a hub of criminal activity and a terror to the good. It's been a direct threat to the Western Hemisphere for 3 decades until now. A bit more from President Trump. Here he is.
But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua, and they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats.
And Democrats want you to believe that's a bad thing. These are the same people who said Lloyd Austin was qualified, that is, to be Secretary of Defense. And what did he give us? Well, we got Afghanistan, that botched withdrawal, 13 dead American military personnel. These are the same people who said Pete Hegseth was unqualified to be Secretary of War. What did he give us? The destruction of the Iranian nuclear program, the capture of Maduro without losing a single American life or a piece of equipment, not one. It is a cause for celebration. And despite the Democrats' best attempts to stifle it, Venezuelans are celebrating. You've seen it all over the world. Those are the sounds of liberation. of liberty, freedom. Mainstream media pundits would do better to air those reactions than the reactions of Trump's self-described political opponents, because when you ask Venezuelans if this operation was a good thing, it's a resounding yes. Just take this Venezuelan woman whose brother was killed by Maduro. She's thankful for Donald Trump. Listen.
Estoy muy emocionada llorando. ¿Cómo se siente? Cuéntanos por qué llora.
Felicidad, tantos años esperar esto, Señor. Gracias, Señor. Ay, Dios mío, esta es una alegría inmensa. Gracias, Señor. Gracias al presidente de Estados Unidos. Yo lo estoy esperando hace 100 años. Cómo he sufrido, cómo no han hecho daño, cómo han matado a mis hermanos. Ay, esto ha sido horrible, mira.
¿Cuántos años tiene usted aquí en los Estados Unidos? ¿Hace cuánto se fue de Venezuela?
Ay, tenemos aquí 8 años ya. 8 años porque nos mataron al hermano mayor y fue fuerte, hermano. Secuestraron a mis hermanos, eso fue fuerte. Y doy gracias a Dios por todo esto, porque ha sido fuerte.
Yes. From Caracas to the streets of Florida, right here in U.S. soil. Celebration. I told you about all those displaced Venezuelans. Many of them have ended up in Florida. They're celebrating with tremendous joy. Here's a bit of that.
Porque yo soy hermana de Jordi Suárez, un muerto político. Cuando las guarimbas tuve que emigrar por ese régimen y me siento feliz porque a nosotros nos quitaron un hermano, un hijo, un tío. Estoy feliz, se está haciendo justicia por toda esa sangre derramada.
Many of them now feel they can return to their families, to their homes, maybe to Venezuela, now that the Maduro regime has been ended. We'll see where it goes from here, but we've got a lot more to talk about on this still to come today as we enter 2026. Kind of a quiet year so far, right? I'll take a break and be right back. Yeah, it's good news all the way around. Any way you slice it, unless you're some white, self-hating liberal who hates America or hates Donald Trump more than they love freedom for millions of people under the boot of an actual dictator in Venezuela. Maduro was a socialist dictator. Anyone who thinks he deserved to stay in power, well, they're probably a socialist as well. We're going to continue this conversation coming up because it's so important. When Donald Trump says something, he damn well means it. Maduro was offered numerous off-ramps. He ignored it. He thumbed his nose at it. And when you have Democrats pearl-clutching on one side, while Venezuelans dance and sing and celebrate in the streets, well, tells you pretty much all you need to know, doesn't it? All you need to know. I'd like to hear from you. Go to stevegruber.com. Send me an email. Send me an email. Tell me what you think. If you're from Venezuela, maybe we can get you on the program. Send me a note. Look, I'm from Venezuela. I've been through this. This is what it means to me personally. Love to have you on the program. Look forward to it. Here's what I like about longevity wellness. It's simple and it works. One daily shake delivers protein, collagen, omega-3s, probiotics, and colostrum, supporting your gut, joints, brain, and immune system. No gimmicks, no clutter, just clean, Science-backed nutrition for people who want to feel better every day. We've been using it here for months. Right now, you get a special discount. Go to longevitywellness.co. Use the promo code Gruber. That's longevitywellness.co, promo code Gruber. Look, if you're on a weight loss program and you're starting 2026 on a weight loss program, but you want to make sure you maintain muscle and bone, this is the product. If you're older and want to make sure you're getting the right nutrition, this is the product. If you're working out and you're younger, like my son, he uses this every day before and after practice. Longevitywellness.co. The promo code again is Gruber. Start 2026 on the right foot with Longevity Wellness. You're going to be glad you did. Save some money today as well. We're going to get more to the celebrations of Venezuela and the absolute strength of the United States reasserting itself in the Western Hemisphere. More on that coming up. Good to see you this morning. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now, and glad to have you here as we kick off a big, beautiful Monday here on the program. Love seeing all you folks on Real America's Voice, all the different chats going on, and Getter. YouTube, a great place to watch this program. Become a follower there as well. We appreciate your support. Here's a quick update on what's happening in Venezuela, because Democrats are like, well, who's going to be in charge? Is Donald Trump going to be in charge? He made the comment that we're going to be running the country, but we'll see what that actually looks like. Interim Venezuelan leader Delcy Rodriguez, she was the vice president when Maduro was taken. She's inviting Donald Trump to collaborate and says she seeks respectful relations. The problem with Ms. Rodriguez is this. She wasn't elected by anybody. First of all, Maduro was not elected. He was not seen as the legitimate leader of Venezuela by, well, not by the Biden administration or the Trump administration or the EU or anybody else of significance for that matter. And Rodriguez was not on the ballot. She was appointed by Maduro, his hand-picked successor. She's not legitimate either. We'll see where this goes. Now, here is a smart take on white liberals complaining that millions of people have been freed of this illegitimate dictator. This pretty well nails it nicely. Listen.
Do you know what the difference is between those who are celebrating the downfall of Maduro and those who are condemning it, or at least how it was done? The difference is privilege. Do you understand how unbelievably lucky you have to be so deeply absorbed in the twists and turns of democracy? Do you think that the rest of the world lives like how we live? Of course they don't. They don't have the luxury of talking about what was authorized, what was congressionally approved and what wasn't. They are not negotiating with the innermost workings of democracy. They are negotiating with survival, with life and death. It isn't that we don't need to have conversations about protecting our democracy. Obviously, we have to protect our democracy, otherwise we don't get to keep it. It is about perspective. It is about knowing when to peel off the lens of privilege and seeing it through the eyes of the rest of the world that doesn't enjoy what we enjoy. The people of Venezuela, the people of Iran, the people of Cuba, they aren't hung up about the first world luxuries of democracy. They are negotiating with life and death. So when their dictators are toppled, they aren't crying over the spilt milkshake of which avenue was taken in order to authorize the decision. They are celebrating something that we have become woefully out of touch with: life, humanity, dignity, liberty. It isn't that the conversation of democracy doesn't need to be had. It's that sometimes you can become so absorbed in your own privilege that you lose perspective. Worse, humanity.
Yes, worse, humanity. You know, as these white liberals sit there with their almond milk latte, sending out nasty grams from their iPhones, they don't understand the people digging through trash cans trying to find a scrap of something, anything to eat. Half a tank of gas every 2 weeks. No jobs, no future. And if you speak out, you just disappear. And this idea that it's just about oil and not drugs and anything else, well, it's not just about oil. It is partially about that and stopping the illegal oil being sent to Iran, Russia, China, Cuba. It's about human trafficking and a hub of criminal enterprise. This was a hub of criminal enterprise in the Western Hemisphere, plus an expressway to our enemies, China and Russia, to come in and set up shop in our own backyard. Make no mistake. China and Russia and their intelligence operations just got smashed. Their foothold in South America, in the Western Hemisphere, has been upended. Here's more.
Some people talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime. We have the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels that have taken over 60% of our populations, and not only involved in drug trafficking, but in human trafficking, in networks of prostitution. So this has turned Venezuela into the criminal hub of the Americas. And what sustained the regime is a very powerful and funded, strongly funded repression system. Where does that funds come from? Well, from drug trafficking, from the black market of oil, from arms trafficking, for human trafficking. We need to cut those flows. And once it happens and repression is weakened, it's over, because that's the only thing the regime has left, violence and terror. So we ask the international community to cut those sources, because the other regimes that support Maduro and the criminal structure are very active and had turned Venezuela into the safe haven for their operations into the rest of Latin America.
Yeah. So we lost New York City to the socialists, but we saved millions in Venezuela. I'm sure we'll turn New York around as well. Now, here's an interesting take I want you to hear. This woman you're going to hear from is a Democrat who voted for Kamala Harris, who has been intimately involved with helping save lives in Venezuela for more than a decade. She knows full well what has been going on there. Here's her take.
So before you sit and criticize, and I can't pretend to know how this will impact America, I'm honestly just so focused on the relief I feel for the people of Venezuela. So before you want to politicize this and make this a Trump thing, look into the conditions and the quality of life for how people have been surviving and living in Venezuela. Venezuela is not occupied today. Venezuela is liberated today. Truly, learn about it, read about it. Again, I am not saying that this isn't for the oil, all that. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe it's truly sinister. But for the people of Venezuela today, this is a good thing.
This is a good thing. Now, how have we started 2026? Well, a few days ago, the Democrats were attacking Nick Shirley for exposing fraud in the Somalian community to the tune of billions of dollars and trying to tear him down. Now the Democrats who say that Donald Trump is in bed with dictators and strongmen, and Donald Trump loves dictators. He takes down an actual dictator, and Democrats scream like smashed cats. They're up in arms. Oh my God, imperialism. An invasion, a war. There's no war. There's no invasion. There was an extraction of a criminal dictator who, as you saw, drove over his own people with military vehicles without regard, didn't care. Today you'll see him in court. There it is. Grotesque. This is what Democrats apparently think should remain in Venezuela as they sip their almond milk lattes and send angry messages on their iPhones because they hate capitalism. Isn't Apple the biggest company in the world? Yeah, exactly. Anyhow, when we come back, what impact will this have on the oil industry? Venezuelan crude is very heavy, extra heavy. It takes special equipment. All, by the way, built by the United States and our oil companies beginning all the way back in the 1920s. We've been there for a century. More on that with R.T. Trevino after the break. Well, here's the quick update. Oil below $60 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate, 57.5. Brent crude just at $60.80. It's the benchmark, of course. So what does this intervention in Venezuela mean to oil? The Democrats would have you believe that's all it's about. It's not. It's about not sending oil to Iran, China, Cuba, Russia. Joining me now, RT Trevino, oil and gas expert. He runs Pecos Country Energy, a privately owned oil and gas exploration company in Fort Worth, Texas. RT, good to see you back on the program.
Good to see you. Happy New Year and happy Merry Christmas to you and everyone out there.
Thank you, sir, and Happy New Year to you. It's been a quiet one so far. Nothing really to talk about. Maybe a thing or two. All right, look. It was the most effective military operation of my lifetime. Not a single American military personnel lost. One aircraft was hit, but it was still operational. It returned to base. We lost no equipment and no people. But here's the screaming from the Democrats. It's all about oil. Trump is a man who's greedy. He's going to profit from it. Trump's not going to profit from any of this, is he?
Not that I'm aware of, that the President Trump is going to profit directly or indirectly from this action. And you were absolutely correct in the beginning of this segment. This is not about oil and this is not about drugs. This U.S. action by our military towards Venezuela was not even about territorial control. It was more about energy security, reliable regional stability in the area, and exposure to who influences South America. Keep in mind that Russia and heavy Chinese influence have been in our backyard now for years.
That's right.
And that's just so key here that even the Monroe Doctrine that goes back a very long way also takes key place in this entire conflict.
And in fact, RT, I would call it the Donroe Doctrine at this point. I saw that term somewhere. I liked it. The Donroe Doctrine for Donald Trump. Look, a little history lesson for the folks. Venezuela discovered its oil in about 1920. They were an agrarian society. They grew cocoa, they grew other plants, but they didn't have any of the infrastructure. So what happened? American oil companies came into Venezuela beginning in the 1920s. By 1928, they had set up infrastructure to not only extract the oil, but export the oil to be refined in the United States. It's heavy oil. It's not like the clean light oil you get out of Saudi Arabia or the United States for that matter. It takes special equipment, special ways for it to be, turned into gasoline. We have that in the Gulf Coast, Louisiana and Texas, for example. You know this, of course. That heavy crude takes special machinery that needs a lot of upkeep, a lot of maintenance, and without it, Venezuela is going to be in real trouble anyway. So we've had this great relationship up till about 2020, when the first heavy sanctions went in. I mean, Venezuela needs the United States to be prosperous, and that will make the country prosperous if we recreate this relationship between American oil companies and the nation of Venezuela. True or false?
That's absolutely correct. The infrastructure there has been depleting now for years. And without that infrastructure, we can't even get that oil to the rest of the world. It's an estimated 700,000 barrels a day that they are producing right now. And that's what we have recorded. And I can get to that in a second. But we can get that up to 3 million barrels of oil a day with the help of the majors that are going to be ready to spend billions of dollars on the infrastructure. But look what that also is going to do to the region. The same thing like it does here in America. Provide great paying jobs to people there in the area to do a great day and get paid a hard day's worth of work to work. And that being said, I want to get back to the 700,000 barrels a day that's being reported. There is a dark fleet. There is now obviously proof with 2 tankers full of oil that were not reported. And as you mentioned, oil's at about $57 today. If we were actually reporting all the oil that was moving across the globe right now under this dark fleet, prices would even be lower right now. And as you can also see, based off the price of oil today, it hasn't moved that much. And that is also due to the fact that we continue to produce 14 million barrels of oil right here at home to basically put up a boxer's punch in a good way to fight the high oil prices have been long going on for years.
The truth is, right, we don't need Venezuelan oil. They need the United States refineries a hell of a lot more than we need that heavy oil. Like I said, it's hard to refine. It takes special equipment. That equipment needs a lot of upkeep, and we have it on the Gulf Coast, and it was set up in large part to service Venezuela before all of this dictatorship and socialism came in. So for Venezuela, maintaining a good relationship with the United States is key to their long-term success financially, which would help that country where people are eating out of trash cans. This is a good thing, isn't it?
I do believe so. And I also believe, as a proud American, that any country that works with us is going to benefit long-term working
Amen.
with the United States. And also, when you talk about the depleting infrastructure there, that oil was actually being paid to China as collateral for a lot of things that China was doing in the area and that Chinese
Which,
influence.
by the way, for anybody, I've seen Chinese setups in Costa Rica and other places around this world, in Africa, places that I've been. China sets up and they do exactly what you just described. Hey, we'll build you some roads or some bridges. You give us this. China was already taking all the oil. So for the Americans, they're screaming, oh, we're just taking the oil. Well, it's better than Russia taking it and Cuba taking it and China taking it and Iran taking it, right? It's better for us. I'll give you the last word.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And Secretary of State Rubio put it the best way. It's like, no, we don't need the oil, but
That's
why
right.
did Russia need the oil? And why did China need the oil?
Yeah.
And it's again about strategic safety. It's about our energy security and our national security by us continuing to monitor our own backyards and take care of our own backyards. I don't know about you, but my mother at her house, she loves to make sure that her backyard is always nice and clean.
Yes, she
and
does.
has, no weeds. And that's the way President Trump is handling Venezuela right now.
Yeah, we just took out an international crime hub operating in the Western Hemisphere. We just disrupted that in a massive way. RT, always good to see you. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year, and thank you as always, Steve. Talk to you soon.
There you have it. All right, and gas prices down again today. Things are looking up. We'll see where this goes. Maduro to be arraigned today in New York City. I'll be right back. right, as you enter a new year, let's see, new things happen. That's right. Probably some new laws, maybe where you are. I don't know. New laws come into effect on the first of the year. Taxes change. Taxes change for you. A lot of you are going to see big refunds this year because of the big, beautiful bill. I'd like to know what those turn out to be. Please let me know. And Dan Bongino is gone. Dan Bongino officially leaves the FBI director role after less than a year, returns to, quote, civilian life. But look, they found the pipe bomber, right? They did some important things. They found the pipe bomber. They brought Maduro to justice, whatever role the FBI may have played in that, intelligence community working together. We've apprehended a number of criminals, stopped a number of big terrorist plans to kill people in places like Los Angeles and Detroit. So the FBI had some great success during Dan Bongino's brief tenure. But he returns now, probably to the microphone as soon as, say, today. Also, Marjorie Taylor Greene is done today, right? She's out. She is going to leave Congress as of today. Crazy time to leave, Marjorie, but I guess that's the decision you made. Now, a new year also means New Year's resolutions. If you're looking to lose weight, get in better shape, and have more energy, then Drop is for you. Not a gimmick, a crash diet, or a quick fix. It's a daily prescription-free, flavorless liquid peptide. Supports weight management by targeting GLP-1s. Works with your body, not against it. The core ingredient, a retatrutide, a breakthrough peptide studied for its ability to regulate appetite. You can find out more at The Wellness Company. The Wellness Company, where I really recommend having these emergency kits on hand. They're great. By the way, you can save some money. Gruber 100 saves $100 on the drop. Gruber 100. TWC.health/Gruber and make 2026 your best year ever. We're going to continue to hear from actual, ordinary Venezuelans, regular folks who are so happy and celebrating in the streets while Democrats criticize Donald Trump for taking out a dictator while accusing Donald Trump of being friends with dictators. It's remarkable, isn't it? He's buddies with dictators, except for the one that he took out, which wasn't right and illegal. Okay. Take your medicine, folks, not you, the rest of them. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Follow us on YouTube. Become a subscriber. Great place to see the program and find all the great interviews from days gone by. Happy New Year. We'll be right back.
something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Launching another brand new hour here of the program. Glad to have you on board as we enter 2026. It's been kind of quiet so far, right? Right. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, like we do every single day. Who do you want in your foxhole? I don't know, but you better choose wisely. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, silver and gold shot up during the last 6 months of 2025, setting all-time record highs, which is nice if you own it, but what does it say about the strength of the American dollar? Number two, at the same time, gas prices are down again today, nearing record lows adjusted for inflation. Inflation also down, so are interest rates, plus new tax cuts will mean big refunds for millions. How will that all stack up in 26? And number three, I'm here to tell you, Democrats that once screamed for Maduro to be removed as the dictator of Venezuela, now screaming that President Trump is violating international law, starting new wars, and putting America at risk. But you know who isn't saying that? The Venezuelan people, who were celebrating in the streets. They also took to social media to rip on those questioning the liberation of their nation from the bloody hands of socialism and the ruthless dictators that have run roughshod over their nation for almost 30 years. Real Venezuelans speaking out. Democrats should not explain the situation in Venezuela to those that have not lived through that hell. Listen.
If you're worried about what United States did to Venezuela and like what's gonna happen now, nothing, literally, and I mean this, nothing can be worse than the hell we've lived up until now. So stop, and I mean this, stop trying to explain Venezuela to Venezuelans. Stop. If you want to know, reach out to someone from Venezuela, okay? Either that are living there or that left. So again, I am very upset. I am outraged. I spent a dumb amount of time today on social media reading all these comments, and that was my own mistake, and that's why I felt compelled to make this video, leave it open. I am open to answer any and all questions if you're genuinely wanting to know what's going on. Any comments about trying to explain to me what's happening or how I must feel today, like, you're out. I'm not kidding. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You can't explain Venezuela to Venezuelans. People who've seen it and lived it for almost 30 years. A country that's one of the wealthiest in the world. Then they nationalized the oil industry. And when the dictators came in, Chavez first, who died in, 2013, and then Maduro, they raided the coffers. You heard in the last hour our teacher Vino talking about 700,000 barrels a day, but it should be 3 million barrels a day. Why? Because they went in and gutted the oil industry of people who knew what they were doing. The engineers, the geologists, they all got shoved out. And Maduro brought in loyalists extensively in the last handful of years. The loyalists that knew nothing about oil, nothing about extraction or refining. So then China came in and Russia came in. They load their boats and take it across the world to their countries to use. Well, that ended. That's over. Make no mistake, this really hurts China. This really hurts Russia. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So, again, I want to go to the Venezuelans, the people that lived this hell on earth. Here's another one telling Democrats to just please shut up. Here it is.
Hi there. Are you an American or other first worlder with democracy privilege who's all of a sudden very, very concerned about the United States taking the oil of Venezuela? Well, let me tell you something. Fear not, because Iran and Cuba have been receiving free Venezuelan oil for decades in exchange of protecting the dictator that has been exiling, killing us, and disappearing us for 26 years. So please, you should be more concerned about the dictator that is killing us, exiling us, and disappearing us than the United States taking our oil. We are not concerned about that. So why are you concerned about that? Be concerned about the imperial powers of Iran and Russia who are already in Venezuela. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's real Venezuelans saying, look, if you don't know what you're talking about, please keep still. Keep still. You don't know what you're talking about. You didn't live this. You didn't see people surviving out of trash cans, getting a half a tank of gas every 2 weeks, having no place to go to work. A third of that country, a full 1/3, 8 million, have fled the country. But meanwhile, over in the Twilight Zone, Democrats screaming about it. Where are the Democrats? Where they always are. On the wrong side of history. Again, listen.
Well, I mean, clearly this is wildly illegal. This is a president who has been operating illegally since he was sworn into office, stealing from the American people, seizing spending power.
What's illegal?
Now dragging America into a war overseas. The president cannot run a military operation of this size, cannot invade a foreign country without coming to Congress first, without allowing the American public to weigh in. America doesn't want this war. Nobody asked for this because it has nothing to do with American national security. And I think that's the most important conversation to have. Listen.
What a fool.
Venezuela is not a security threat to the United States. They're not threatening to invade us. There is no terrorist group like Al-Qaeda operating there that has plans to attack the United States. To the extent that you care about the drug trade, yes, they produce drugs, but those drugs go to Europe. Fentanyl is the drug that's killing Americans. That's
what
not
a
coming
fool.
from Venezuela. Venezuela produces cocaine. 90% of it is not coming to the United States.
Here's the problem. Venezuela is not a threat to the United States, says Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut. Well, Senator, is China a threat to the United States? Is Russia a threat to the United States? Because they set up shop there in Venezuela. Their intelligence communities are there. And yes, ISIS is there. Other terrorist organizations are there operating freely, at least they were, under the Maduro regime. And it's not regime change. Let's get rid of that notion and stop calling him President Maduro. He was not president. He was not elected. He lost a landslide election and used his military to crack down anyway and hang on to power. He was a dictator, not a president. And no, we don't want China and Russia and Cuba and Iran operating freely in our hemisphere. That is the backbone of the Monroe Doctrine. It's the backbone of the Trump doctrine now. This is our hemisphere, and we're going to protect it. And we're going to look out for American national security because that's what it is. That man is a fool. That man is a fool by definition. All right, coming up on the program, Asaf Romarowski, anti-Semitism historian, executive director of the Association for the Study of Middle East and Africa. We lost New York City and saved Venezuela. What about New York City and Mamdani now in charge? Boy, he's just rolling out one socialist program after another. Oh, it's going to be a mess. We'll be right back. All right, back to it now. Glad to have you on board in the new year. It's going to be interesting. You know, it started with all that fraud in Minnesota that was all the rage for a few days. It's been pushed aside by the raid in Caracas, Venezuela, in the middle of a military base. Maduro will be in court today. In fact, I think he's on the move right now. I'm watching live pictures. It appears to me that Maduro's on the move. This is a heavy motorcade, heavily armed. We'll see where it ends up. Maduro would be in the armored vehicle coming behind. Anyhow, we'll keep you up to date on that. Joining me now, Asaf Romorowski, PhD, anti-Semitism historian, the executive director of the Association for the Study of the Middle East and Africa, and the executive director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. Sir, thank you for being here.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Well, we lost New York, but saved Venezuela. That's the way it looks from where I'm sitting. We saved Venezuela and millions of people from socialism. At least we took the first step in that direction after almost 30 years. Meanwhile, Mamdani comes out and says something about getting rid of the chill of rugged individualism to replace it with the warm embrace of collectivism. And he's putting people in places they're not qualified to be. He's going after landlords. He's going to go after the police department. New York City's in for a long, painful lesson, I believe. Your thoughts?
100%, and I think it's also quite telling about the direction of the Democratic Party in general. I mean, New York elected a Democratic socialist who is basically following through on everything he said. The first executive orders that he did was to erase and eradicate all the issues regarding anti-Semitism that Adam put in place, getting rid of the IRA definition and BDS. And he's the same individual who has been advocating for globalizing Intifada. We know by now, and anybody who has any doubt, that words have consequences. We've seen the attacks from all the way ranging from Australia, all the way to Colorado, to the attacks in Washington. There are endless examples of all of this, and he is the one who's endorsing all of this. And so I think that Americans, Jews should all be concerned about the fact that you basically normalize an anti-Semite and put him in a position of power in New York City. New York City being one of the second largest Jewish population outside of Israel. People should be waking up exactly to the consequences of this, and they should be heavily concerned about the safety of Americans and Jews worldwide. I mean, I think this is a very clear statement.
Mayor Eric Adams had put in place some executive orders in New York City to protect against anti-Semitism, to protect synagogues, to protect the Jewish population you just mentioned, all stripped away on day one of Mamdani's administration. Jaw-dropping, really, but not surprising at all, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, I think that we should have been prepared for this. I think that we should have seen the signs along the way, and that should have been give people some kind of sense of what they're voting for, and they should have done something way before all of this. And now he's actualizing everything he ran on. So it's not a surprise. Not to mention, look at who they had as an inauguration between Bernie Sanders and AOC, and every radical progressive in the Democratic Party is, like I said, is very telling about the normalizing of anti-Semitism within Democratic circles.
Yeah, there's Maduro, by the way, live pictures. We can jump to that real quick. Maduro being walked toward his arraignment. I just want to jump to that real quickly. Maduro being led out of the place, the jail he was being held in Brooklyn. He's been transported now. You can see him there in the black. A lot going on here. All right, with Mamdani and New York City, sir. It's a dark day for New York City. There is a policy being put forth by the socialists of New York City that say you cannot sell your house without permission from the housing department. You can't sell your house without permission from the housing department. And if you do, you have to wait 6 months to sell your house. This is just the latest iteration of control on housing. No private property rights to homeowners. Another dark turn, isn't it?
100%. I mean, everything that Mamdani is putting forth here is anti-American at its core. This is not how America was built. He doesn't understand America. I mean, this isn't...
He doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. I mean, an entitled individual, and of course, the distinct irony that he lives in a $7 million condo in Soho as an entitled individual and is claiming socialism at the same time. So all of this shows a disconnect, and the fact that he's been able to make this kind of urban socialism trendy for young Americans, young New Yorkers who think that they're voting and everything is going to be for free, is detached from reality.
Yeah, it is detached from reality. So how long? I predicted back a while ago that Mamdani would be elected, but I also predicted that he would be recalled as mayor of New York. With these moves that are going to outrage not just the Jewish population, but anybody who owns anything, the exodus of people from New York City to get to places that are a safe haven for capitalists and people that build things. What do you think about that idea that he won't make it all the way through this first term?
I hope so. I mean, but and I think there should be enough problems and enough red flags. Not to mention the fact that if you look at exactly his campaign donations, some of the money came in from CARE, which is associated with the Muslim Brotherhood.
Sure.
I think that there's also a financial concern about Wall Street. Where is Wall Street in all of this? Nobody at Wall Street will talk to him, given the fact that nothing that he's proposing is valuable. One would hope that at least maybe the governor, currently, that she would do something to understand that anything that he proposes has no financial standing. Maybe that could be a silver lining. Obviously, I'm concerned the fact that Stefanik is out of the race, but still, this is not how New York functions. Not to mention the fact how much money New York is going to lose on personal income tax when it comes to the exodus of individuals leaving New York City.
Asaf, we'll stay in touch, obviously, and give updates from time to time. Keep an eye on it for us. We appreciate your input today.
Thank you, as always. I appreciate it, Steve.
Thank you so much, Mamdani. Like I said, we lost New York and saved Venezuela. We're going to be forced to save New York at some point as well. Trust me on that. When we come back, more on Venezuela as we talk and hear from the people and what it takes to move that country forward now after the break. All right, Nicolas Maduro coming off the ground there in U.S. custody on his way to be arraigned on a 2020 indictment for drug trafficking and other crimes. He will appear in a New York courtroom today for the first time, along with his wife, I believe. I don't know if they're traveling together or separate, but there he goes. He's in that helicopter there. We'll keep an eye on him. Colonel William Dunn is a Marine Corps colonel, president of Strategic Resilience Group, LLC, and the author of Gunfighters Rule. Colonel, thank you for being here. Oh, I'm sorry. We're getting excited about my guest. I'm a little ahead of myself watching the live pictures. But you can stay in the live pictures. It's fine. The helicopter, I'm surprised they're leaving the airspace open like that and moving him. Look, I can't help but be shocked. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump does. It doesn't matter what he does. If you expose fraud among the Somalian community in Minnesota, Maine, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, state of Washington, Democrats will side with those cheating you out of billions of dollars of tax money and sending it back to their homeland. If Donald Trump takes out a dictator like this one and sends him to court on a legal warrant. And by the way, if you just go back to 2020, Senator Chuck Schumer was screaming at Donald Trump for not dealing with Maduro and taking him out of power. And now Chuck Schumer says, well, this is illegal. These people are just patently, blatantly dishonest. They love dictators so much because of their hatred of Donald Trump. It doesn't matter what Trump does. He could cure cancer today, and they say, well, Donald Trump just put all these oncologists out of business. Yeah. Well, that's the take. Anyhow, we'll keep you updated as Maduro makes his way to court this morning, and keep an eye on it. When I come back, I will have Colonel William Dunn talking about this and what it means to you, to me, to everyone. Thank you for being here as we start the new year of 2026. All right, back to it now. As I mentioned, Colonel William Dunn joining me. Colonel, good to have you here on the program. Thank you for taking the time to step in. Obviously, a remarkable operation. I mean, you compare this to getting Saddam Hussein. That took 170,000 soldiers, $1 trillion, years of war, Americans killed, military equipment lost. Not one American lost, not one piece of equipment, one damaged piece of aircraft. That's it. It was an incredible operation by the Rangers, wasn't it?
It was. In all the forces, it was a bunch of forces involved, conventional, soft, as well as about 125 to 150 aircraft. A massive undertaking, a tremendous amount of planning, in literally a perfect execution. The fact that we got everybody in, everybody out +2. I think we took a few casualties. I don't know the extent of those in a helicopter shot up. Cost of doing business. Hopefully those wounded soldiers are going to be fine. But the aircraft, I don't want to say no one cares about the aircraft, but an aircraft getting shot up on a mission like this, and that's the worst thing, is a superb win for our men and women in uniform in this country.
And meanwhile, you're watching Maduro be moved under heavy, heavy security this morning. Live pictures from New York right now on your screen for those of you streaming. Maduro's going to make an appearance in court today to be arraigned on these charges from an outstanding war that dates back to 2020. Look, Maduro was an illegitimate leader. He was not, when people refer to him as a president, he was not. When they refer to regime change, it is not. The fact of the matter is the opposition won in a landslide. That according to all observers from the U.S., from the EU. Nobody sees this guy as legitimate. And yet you've got the Democrats on the other side screaming, well, this was an invasion. We're now at war with Venezuela. We're not at war with Venezuela. We extracted an illegitimate dictator who was allowing China, Russia, Iran, Cuba, and others to export illegal oil. Those folks also have their intelligence communities on the ground. And so when anybody says it's not a threat to America, of course China is a threat to America. Russia is a threat. Iran is a threat. And they had set up camp, set up shop in Venezuela, right here in the Western Hemisphere, right?
They had, this is no different than the Manuel Noriega extraction. It's no different than the Cuban Missile Crisis. You compare the parallels there. What we had to do, and the biggest point is he was not an elected president or even an elected dictator, if you will. He just took over. So anytime an American, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, that says we did a regime change, that's a false narrative. He was not the legal, appropriate leader of that country. And as you can see, the protests in Venezuela are all pro-U.S., all pro get rid of Maduro. And unfortunately, we have a bunch of misled individuals in this country that are saying, keep your hands off Venezuela. They just don't know. They don't understand what they're doing. And maybe they do. Maybe they're being paid, but they're really trying to support a murderous, drug-dealing guy that's killed hundreds of thousands of Americans by allowing drugs to flow freely in this country.
Yeah,
so I just wish they could understand.
Here's the second problem now, though. Interim Venezuelan leader is Delcy Rodriguez. She wasn't elected at all. She wasn't even on the ballot, but she was handpicked by Maduro as his vice president. She now thinks she is in charge. I don't think that will last particularly long. Your thoughts?
Well, we did a very similar thing in Karbala, Iraq. I ran the Civil Military Operations Center, in essence, a regime change with Saddam Hussein in the interim government of Karbala. So what we need to do is support Venezuela with an interim government, whether that's this vice president lady or not. That's got to be up to the Venezuelan people. Obviously, we did not do this without talking to some people in Venezuela. This mission was definitely supported from within Venezuela. And I believe it's going to take time, but I think we will see you will get a positive regime in there. And what I mean by that is a duly elected one. It is not going to happen overnight. But I hope this vice president, I hope she understands that if she works with us, that's going to be good for Venezuela, good for the country, and good for the region. If she doesn't, we've heard what President Trump said, that she can become an enemy of the state as well.
Absolutely true. So let's talk about the impact on China and Russia specifically. China, most importantly to me, I think that they're the biggest global threat, not just to America, but to the world. This is a big blow to them. All that free, because the Americans, the Democrats, think this is about oil and we're just going to take their oil. China was already taking their oil for free in exchange for having access and so forth. We know that. China was setting up shop there. How big of a blow to China and Russia and Iran?
Well, it's a huge blow to all of our adversaries because what you don't want to do is have someone engaging a friendly or an adversarial country in your backyard. And what I mean by engagement, when you have Russian, Chinese, Iranian support in Venezuela, right in our backyard, very close to striking distance of at least Florida, if not the rest of the United States, it's important that we have an engagement there. We weren't going to have it with Maduro, and now that he's gone, that opens up a door for us to operate in there. And it's a zero-sum game. When we are in there engaging, that reduces the ability of our adversaries to engage with any other state, any other country. So better for us, a huge blow to them. I saw a slide today on how much free oil China was getting. It's astronomical. So what happens now? Maybe they have to pay for it. Maybe they don't get it at all. But the oil that China doesn't have is good for us.
I would like it to be not at all.
What's that?
I think you choke off that oil to China, Russia, Cuba, Iran, and other bad actors around the world. Choke that off completely. It makes a difference. Look, we don't need the oil. As Marco Rubio pointed out, we have plenty of oil in America. We're producing more than any other country on the planet. We're fine. Gas prices are down. Oil prices are below $60 a barrel. We don't need the oil. But we do need to make sure that China's not setting up shop and building drones and fighter jets and other things in the Western Hemisphere, right?
That's correct. 100%. And like I say, if they don't have the oil, whatever we do with it, great. Maybe we give it to someone. I don't know. Maybe we put it in our oil reserve, or maybe we let Venezuela decide what they do with their oil once they get their infrastructure reestablished and reset up.
Well, that will take years. Yeah, Maduro gutted the oil industry there. He took out he took out the engineers and the geologists and replaced it with loyalists inside the oil industry in Venezuela. It destroyed it. That's why they're pumping about 700,000 barrels a day when they should be at 3 million barrels a day. They have more known reserves than any country on earth. Far more than the United States or Saudi Arabia or anyone else, and yet they've been beholden to a dictator. Last word to you.
Well, no, I think it's great. It was an amazing mission. I have supported, while I was in the Marine Corps, soft missions such as this, not on this big a scope, but much smaller. And the fact that our men and women went in there, took that guy out, it should be a warning to any adversary, any drug dealer, any narco-terrorist. There is no place that's safe in this globe where the United States of America cannot reach you.
That's right. A demonstration of, a demonstration of competence and ability and strength like I have not seen. Colonel, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. Maduro has now, it appears, arrived at the federal courthouse to be arraigned on those charges. The vehicle is just backed into that building there, that armored vehicle. We'll keep you up to date on that as it continues to unfold today. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right. Oh, busy day. 2026 off to a very quiet start. Yeah, okay. Let's get with Jeremy Rosenthal, legal expert, a prosecutor before he became a defense attorney, knows how to put cases together and tear them apart. Harsh punishments on the way for Nicolas Maduro and his wife as they face U.S. charges. We just saw the live pictures of him arriving at the courthouse. Sir, good morning.
Morning.
So, tell me about this. It's interesting that I see people saying this is a violation of the Constitution, those on the left. This is a violation of international law. This is the execution of a warrant, an extraction of an illegitimate dictator that was running a crime hub in the Western Hemisphere. He had China in there, Russia in there, Iran, Cuba, all set up, all doing business there, routinely killing people. We've got video here of military machines running over the citizens of Venezuela. This is who this guy was. He's going to be held to account, just like Noriega was from Panama many years ago. Is this legal?
Let's start with American law that our Congress has authorized us to go get people in other countries. It's that simple. It's never been held unconstitutional. There is a doctrine called the Kerr-Frisbee doctrine, which that says that you have that when an American court gets you, they don't analyze how you got there. So if you were kidnapped, if it was illegal, not legal, it does not matter. The U.S. court has jurisdiction, and that's a doctrine that's over 100 years old. So really, as far as Maduro goes, there's really no complaints under American law. International law, that's a different story. That's an argument he can make. I don't think it's going to go very far. Really, when you talk about the international politics of it, that's where the UN comes in. That's where other countries can do what they want or try to do what they want. And obviously, I don't think any of us see really any type of international violation going anywhere. And again, I mean, that's obviously debatable.
Here's what's problematic to me, Jeremy, because they were on point, they were on message. And then, of course, Donald Trump, being the most transparent president I've ever seen, sometimes to his detriment, goes out there and says, we're going to be running Venezuela for a while. Some of the legal experts I've been reading say that could be problematic for the prosecution. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know how much of that it's going to make it into the courtroom. Into the American courtroom, at least. Now, again, there's two sides to this. There's the American legal side to this, and then there's the international side to this to see how it plays. Looking at the American courts, and so think El Chapo. That's probably one of the best analogs that you have here. Maduro is facing a mandatory minimum of 20 years for these types of drug trafficking. Essentially, the indictments say that Venezuela was one big drug cartel, one big drug conspiracy. Those are going to be charges that are going to be hard to get out of. And not only that, when you look at the Fourth Amendment, right, when you look at Luigi Mangione, for instance, he's arguing that the detention of him, that his search was illegal based on the Fourth Amendment. I don't know that Maduro gets the benefit of the Fourth Amendment. He is not an American, and he is not in our country. You can wiretap a foreign leader, and there's no prohibition that I'm aware of that says that you can't use that evidence. He and his wife are looking at maximum life in prison. Today is going to be very perfunctory in the federal court. It's going to be, do you understand your rights? Do you understand your lefts? Have you had a chance to talk to your lawyer? We're going to go ahead and enter in a not guilty plea. There's what's called a mandatory presumption of detention here based on these charges. Obviously, he's not going to get released by our courts, but our courts will not analyze how he was attained. That is probably, if there's a key legal point to take away from it, it's that.
Yeah, Jeremy, today El Chapo is in the state of Colorado in the Supermax there. He's in solitary in a 12-by-7 cell, 23 out of 24 hours a day. Do you think it's possible that Maduro could end up being nearby?
That's a question for the Department of Corrections and the Department of Prisons. Now, one thing that you do want here, you want to make sure that as far as prison goes, you don't want to mix him with people who are going to hurt him. You don't want him hurt. You don't want him killed. That's probably, if and when American, if we get scrutinized, it would be because of something like that, right? I mean, you want the man to stand trial. That's the whole point of getting him. And you don't want to go out into all these lengths to go get the man under your jurisdiction only to just throw him in general population and have him shivved. That would be bad news, I think, for everybody.
I would agree with that. So this case, look, Jeremy, I've dealt with enough attorneys in my life. It's a process.
You're a very lucky person, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so fortunate. I feel blessed every day that I have so many attorneys in my life. But it's a process. How long could this be? He's going to make an initial appearance here. We've seen the vehicle arrive at the federal courthouse. What's your timetable expectation here? I'll give you the last word.
Years. These things take a long time. The amount of evidence that you have to establish that the country of Venezuela is just a big drug ring, that's a lot of stuff. And it's going to take a lot of time. There's no reason, there's no incentive for Maduro to plead guilty. Why would you, right? Why would you just sign up? Yeah, sure, put me in prison for life. No, he's going to fight this every step of the way. So this is going to take a really long time. You're going to have who knows how many witnesses that are going to come in and testify. This is going to be very complicated, very convoluted. It's going to take years.
Jeremy, I greatly appreciate your insights today. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Steve.
Yeah. And a quiet New Year it is, right? Off to a quiet start. First, the fraud in Minnesota. Everybody goes crazy. Then the extraction of an illegitimate dictator from Venezuela to stand trial in America. Everybody goes crazy. If this is an indication of 26, boy, you better put on your track shoes because we'll be running all the way through it, all right? I've got sports after the break here with Brock, so don't go anywhere. All right, 26 going to be a big year in sports like all years. Here's Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. The final Sunday of the regular season in the NFL saw Jacksonville, Carolina, and Pittsburgh clinch division titles. Denver clinched the number 1 seed in the AFC with their 19-3 win over the LA Chargers. Pittsburgh won the AFC North with a 26-24 victory over Baltimore in the Sunday night game. Despite winning their last 4 games, the Atlanta Falcons fired head coach Raheem Morris and general manager Terry Fontenot just hours after the team beat New Orleans 19-17. The Falcons finished 8-9 this season. The only other head coaching openings as of this morning are Tennessee and the New York Giants. 8 games in the NBA yesterday. Winners included Detroit, Brooklyn, Minnesota, and Phoenix. In the NHL, there were 5 games. Winners were Montreal, Pittsburgh, Florida, Carolina, and Chicago. In men's college basketball, 4th-ranked Connecticut and 7th-ranked Gonzaga both won. In women's basketball, number 2 Texas and number 3 South Carolina both won. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. Some breaking news hitting the wires at this moment. Secret Service has issued a statement on an attack at J.D. Vance's home in Cincinnati. Shortly after midnight Monday, January 5, the man was physically detained by Secret Service agents assigned to the Vice President's home. The residence unoccupied at the time of the incident. The Vice President's family were not in Ohio. But an adult male taken into custody by the Cincinnati Police Department after being detained by the U.S. Secret Service, causing property damage, breaking windows on the exterior of the home of J.D. Vance. The U.S. Secret Service coordinating with the Cincinnati Police Department, the U.S. Attorney's Office. Charging decisions are reviewed. Those are federal charges. That's just, it's insanity defined is what that is. It's insanity defined. All right, so we've got another big hour coming your way. I've been reading Charlie Kirk's book, Stop in the Name of God. Very good book. Well worth reading, in my estimation. I think you'll find it enlightening. I've already read 3 books this year. The best sentence ever written, the second sentence of the Declaration of Independence. The best sentence ever written, said the author. I thought that was good. Saw and read Bill O'Reilly's new book, Confronting Evil. An easy read and interesting about Caligula and Genghis Khan, Stalin, Hitler, a whole bunch of folks. Evil folks. Yeah, interesting read. All right, we'll talk about that, plus the latest on Venezuela and the arraignment of Maduro. Coming up in the next hour on The Steve Gruber Show.
something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it as we kick off another brand new hour here of the program. Glad to have you on board. Truth, honesty, real honest news. And, of course, we fight for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. It's 2026. It could be a critical year to know who you're standing shoulder to shoulder with. Here are three big things you need to know this hour as we get rolling. Number one, California's ban on open carry struck down by a liberal court of appeals, unconstitutional. Number two, I've got the top 10 stories from Michigan in 2025. We'll be sharing that with Ivy a bit later. And number three, all eyes are on New York, where the ousted dictator Nicolas Maduro now on his way into a federal courtroom to be arraigned on charges of drug trafficking and a lot more that dates back, by the way, to 2020. The Biden administration did nothing about it, nothing. Donald Trump, in his surgical precision strike that he directed, was able to extract Maduro without losing a single American life, without losing a single piece of American equipment. Remarkable. Compare that to Saddam Hussein. We took 170,000 soldiers. We lost, 4,500. Spent years, billions, $1 trillion to extract that dictator and put him in handcuffs. This time, it was remarkable. The Army Rangers, within 3 minutes of landing on the ground, were through the door of his bedroom and had him in handcuffs, and his wife, too. She's also indicted. 4 others will still face justice. The Supreme Court made this legal years ago in similar extractions. If you face an indictment in the United States, it is legal for us to come collect you. It doesn't matter if you're an illegitimate dictator running a drug cartel empire in South America. It doesn't matter. If you're indicted by a United States court, you will be brought to justice. That's a news flash for those in Mexico because of the 8 cartels named as terrorist organizations by Donald Trump. 6 are in Mexico. Claudia Sheinbaum, take note. We're not going to sit idly by and allow these cartels to run things in the Western Hemisphere. Those days are over. Over. And for those on the left, it is a remarkable thing. Because it's not just about oil as they would have you believe. Look, China had set up shop there for years. So had Russia and Cuba and Iran. They were operating intelligence operations and apparatus right here in the Western Hemisphere. China building military drones in Venezuela, working to build other military equipment there, and getting all of the oil they wanted for free on those ghost ships. Well, that's over too. Those ships are not going to come and go freely. So it's a big blow to China, big blow to Russia and Iran and Cuba and others. And it's not just about oil, it's about drugs and human trafficking, and the hub of this criminal operation, a hub of criminal operation in the Western Hemisphere. Listen to this.
Some people talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime. We have the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels that have taken over 60% of our populations, and not only involved in drug trafficking, but in human trafficking, in networks of prostitution. So this has turned Venezuela into the criminal hub of the Americas. And what sustained the regime is a very powerful and funded, strongly funded repression system. Where does that funds come from? Well, from drug trafficking, from the black market of oil, from arms trafficking, for human trafficking. We need to cut those flows. And once it happens and repression is weakened, it's over, because that's the only thing the regime has left, violence and terror. So we ask the international community to cut those sources, because the other regimes that support Maduro and the criminal structure are very active and had turned Venezuela into the safe haven for their operations into the rest of Latin America.
Yeah, threat of Latin America and the entire Western Hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine is alive and well today. It is. The Monroe Doctrine alive and well under the leadership of Donald Trump. Maybe it's the Trump Doctrine now, which is America first. If you're a criminal, if you're harboring the Chinese and the Russians and others, well, you're going to pay a price for that, a big price for that. All right? And most people, myself included, think taking out the illegitimate dictator Maduro was spot on, the right thing to do. Here's an example.
And to the Americans that are upset about Venezuela, your opinion does not matter, I promise you. I promise you, honey bun, it does not matter. Unless you lived under that regime for decades, it does not matter. Whether you're cheering, you're upset, whether you're mad the orange guy did this, I don't care what your opinion is. But the people in Venezuela are celebrating, and that's all that matters. So congrats to Venezuela. My heart is with you. I love to keep the videos coming. I love to see it. Yeah. Also, I'll just put that out there. I'll just put that out there. The man wasn't a good guy. He wasn't a good guy. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, and I could do this all day long. People telling the truth, dropping truth bombs on the left-wing media, the left-wing propagandists, the Democrat senators and members of Congress who apparently think it's time to defend Maduro. Did you really think you'd see the day when a guy who is killing his own people, starving them to death, murdering the political opposition, people just disappeared in Venezuela? Like all socialist leftist regimes, they just disappear when they disagree with those in charge. Yes, I can do this all day, but here's more.
People of Venezuela are happy because after 3 decades of living in absolute hell, there is finally hope.
I'm Venezuelan, and let me tell you something. This is the happiest day of my life.
And now liberal Americans who don't know any Venezuelan, who have no idea what the Venezuela went through, are writing on Facebook and Instagram and Threads all of these messages saying we stand with Venezuelan leader, this is heavily illegal, this is awful. Like, I'm not to go now into the ways of how legal this has been. What I want to say is that it needed to be done, and I'm so happy that it happened. I'm so happy for people of Venezuela. For 30 long years, no one was coming to their rescue. So if we waited to do it illegal ways, this would probably never happen. The people of Venezuela would continue suffering for decades more to come, and it's not going to change overnight. There's some rough road ahead, but today there is hope.
Yeah, there is hope for Venezuela. That's why they're dancing in the streets, from Caracas to Miami, the capitals in Europe, all over this world. Venezuelans, because a third of the Venezuelans, about 8 million, fled the country because they had no other choice. They were not safe. They could not eat. Their property was stolen. Their savings stolen. Their future stolen. Congratulations to the United States military. And thank you to the President of the United States for having the guts to do what he said he was going to do. Liberate Venezuela. I'll be right back. All right, back at it as we continue the program here in a brand new year. A cold year, by the way. Lots of snow for us here all over the Midwest. Not so much out west, but here we've gotten plenty of it, and winter is here for sure. Join me now, Drew Thomas Allen, author of For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. Drew, welcome to the program.
Hey, Steve. Good to be with you, brother.
Good to have you. I've been reading Charlie's new book, Stop in the Name of God. I really like it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm about 100 pages into it. I really like it. I really like what he's laid out, the biblical idea of taking the Sabbath, not to take a break, but to put a bow on all the things that you've accomplished is part of the things I've learned here. Charlie, probably the biggest story of 2025, but my real concern here is that it feels like people like Candace Owens turn this into a way to create viewers for her platform by these crazy conspiracy theories. Oh, TPUSA was involved with his murder. Oh, it was the Israelis. I mean, as Erica said, stop. Now, they had a meeting. Haven't heard a lot about it. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's pathetic that meeting had to take place in the first place. Erica Kirk shouldn't have had that meeting. Candace Owens wasn't married to him. It's none of her business, frankly. And she pretended, of course, the whole time like she cared more about getting to the bottom of Charlie Kirk's assassination than his own wife, which, she's an egomaniac, and she absolutely exploited his death and murder for, personal gain. And, of course, she hid behind this line of, I just want to get to the bottom. I'm just asking questions. I really care about Charlie. And anybody who knew Charlie in that circle knew that she was effectively excommunicated long ago because she's a lunatic, which everyone has been able to see. But here's my problem with all this, and the reason I wrote the book in the end, I guess, is because, one, I hope it resonates with people because it's a story of how I was personally affected and transformed, actually, changed by Charlie Kirk's assassination and, of course, his brilliant, amazing, exceptional life. But we had a fragile window after his assassination, I think, to have a national conversation about actually important issues like left-wing violence in this country, like the spiritual rot and cultural rot and decay that Charlie Kirk went and talked about day in and day out on his show, and then, of course, debating on college campuses and elsewhere. And we didn't talk about that. We didn't hold the left accountable after Charlie Kirk's assassination. We got into this game of, the Jews killed him. No, it was Macron's wife. She offed Charlie Kirk. And it was unbelievable because we needed to have a reckoning in this country about the root cause of left-wing violence, and we didn't. And so that's what this book is about. I mean, it's first principles, and it's getting back to obviously protecting his legacy, but forcing a conversation about the radical violent transgender movement, the radical left, and the spiritual rot that Charlie Kirk was trying to address.
You know what concerns me about Candace and others, these podcasters, right? Think that they have some right to see the evidence. Look, I've said this numerous times. She has no right to see the evidence. She has no right to see what the prosecution has. It is a death penalty case in Utah. In order for the death penalty to be issued, you have to go 12 for 12 on the jury. No defectors, right? That's the line. And so therefore, of course, you keep your cards close to the vest. You get to see it during the trial like everybody else. Why do these people think they're entitled to demand to see the videos and the evidence and everything else? I mean, I think it's asinine and absurd.
Well, the bar for podcasting, as you know, Steve, is simply buying a microphone and having modern technology like a computer and Wi-Fi. So everyone fancies themselves some special person. And, of course, Candace leading the way shows that, you can make money doing that as well.
A lot.
A lot of money. And so, these people, by the way, the Candace Owens and whatnot, they can talk all day about, trying to get to the truth. They're not actually looking for evidence. They're not actually looking to solve any sort of crime. They are looking for anything they can that is not basically they're ignoring evidence that leads to the fact that, it's a transgender lover, furry fetish, person, left-wing radical who hated Charlie Kirk that killed him. So, they're not looking for any evidence that would suggest that. They're looking for anything that would disprove that. So it's like Barack Obama, every time you had a jihadist, radical Islam, attack in this country, his thesis was that, Islam was a peaceful religion and therefore it's impossible that, Islam was responsible for this. So, he would call it workplace violence or whatever it was. these people are doing the same thing. They're operating from an assumption that's insane that, the FBI is lying to us. And, we don't even need the FBI to believe, and this guy's going to have a trial, obviously, but we don't even need the FBI to tell us. I mean, we could put the pieces together for ourselves, and it's not insane that a radical leftist would, obviously assassinate Charlie Kirk, given the culture of hatred and dehumanization that produced, Steve Scalise's near death with a Bernie Sanders supporter that shot at the baseball field. I mean, I could go on forever. Justice Kavanaugh, the transgender person that tried to go to Maryland from California and kill him and his family. So anyway, they exclude that. So their theory is, well, it can't be this person, a leftist. Therefore, we're going to invent and fabricate things that point to the Jews doing it. I mean, it's insane. These people have like the IQ of the Somalians that came here.
That's funny. I can't argue with that. The book, by the way, For Christ and Country, The Martyrdom of Charlie Kirk, written by Drew Thomas Allen. You can find it, I would expect, in all the usual places, right?
Yeah, typically. Amazon's trying to screw us right now. They actually been censoring this book very heavily, I guess. Why? Because they don't like the serious content of the book. I don't know. I mean, I've been a publicist for a long time. I was Charlie Kirk's publicist in 2024 for a second to last book. I've been doing this a while, and I've written other books through my publisher.
Sure.
And, it's on there, but they look, people should try to buy the book there. They can, I think, but what happens is they try and prevent it from going up the rankings. So they will shut it down. You might get a message that says can't ship to this address. And if you get that, that means they're just locked and loaded, and they're going to try and, block the book for a while. But I mean, Amazon, you should be able to get it there, at least in the paperback. And if they can't get it there, they can get it at Target, Walmart, bookshop.org. But I've never experienced anything in my life like this.
Well, there you have it, Drew. Thank you for sharing your story. Look forward to seeing the book. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, brother. Good to be with you.
Greatly appreciate it. Amazon playing games. I'm shocked. Shocked. 2026 and Amazon's pulling strings to control the narrative. Yeah, okay. I believe that. I'll be right back. All right, back at it now. California's ban on open carry struck down in the first big victory for the Second Amendment in 2026. Yeah, it's a big victory. A panel of the San Francisco-based 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals sided 2-1 with a gun owner in ruling that the state's prohibition against open carry in counties with more than 200,000 people violates the Second Amendment. Big win for gun owners in California, big loss for the oppressive government of Gavin Newsom. Because about 95%, by the way, in a county of more than 200,000 people, that's about 95% of the people of all of California. I mean, that's the entire state basically banning open carry. U.S. Circuit Court Judge Lawrence Van Dyke, who was appointed by Republican President Donald Trump, said the Democratic-led state's law could not stand under the U.S. Supreme Court's 2022 landmark gun rights ruling in New York, Rifle and Pistol versus Bruin. In the opinion, unquestionably involves a historical practice, open carry, that predates ratification of the Bill of Rights in 1791. He said, it's been here forever. Noted that 30 states generally allow open carry. The historical record makes unmistakably plain that open carry is part of the nation's history and tradition. So there you have it. Here's something for you. The weight loss industry makes over $90 billion a year, yet no one has uncovered your reason why you can't lose weight and keep it off. But My Pure Health has. And they've been helping hundreds of people just like you. Their process is simple. Get evaluated, receive a customized protocol designed just for you, then eat real food, take your formulas, watch your metabolism click back on. Men lose up to 50 pounds in 40 days. 50. Women up to 32 pounds. No shots. No, who wants that? No exercise required. Book your free consultation today. Visit GruberHealth.com. Take the first step toward a healthier, slimmer you in 2026. That's GruberHealth.com. It's real results, real food, real simple. And look, I did it. I do not endorse companies or products that we do not have personal involvement with. This one I trust because it works. GruberHealth.com. Like I said, real results, real food, real simple. Get started in 2026. Look in the mirror again and feel good about it. I'll be right back. When you lose somebody important, my next guest knows what that's exactly like. She lost somebody to fentanyl poisoning. Rebecca Kissling with me. Rebecca, nice to have you here on the program.
Thank you. And, not just one person. I lost both my sons at the same time.
Yeah, and there was a third person who died that day too, wasn't there?
Yeah. Um, a 17-year-old girl. My sons were 18 and 20, Caleb and Kyler.
Yeah. Terrible story. But we're telling these stories here on this program because when people of a certain political persuasion scream about blowing up drug boats, they don't think about people like you. They don't think about small communities like Rapid River, Michigan that's lost 5 people. It's a city or a village of just 330 people in the UP. 5 have died from fentanyl. Next door in Nema, a population of 25, they lost 1. I mean, these are the real stories of real Americans dying from poison. But they don't seem to care about that. They seem to care more about the guy driving the drug boat. Must make you sick to your stomach.
It does. And, I'm really thrilled to see what's happened with Maduro being captured. And I know the reports have been saying, oh, they're just shipping cocaine. They're not shipping fentanyl from Venezuela. But it's a whole cartel where once it arrives, they add fentanyl to the cocaine. And my boys did not ingest cocaine, but there are massive amounts of people our age, our generation, people who call themselves, weekend warriors, who would ingest cocaine for decades and they didn't die. And now they're dying in droves because they're being poisoned. It takes a lot to die from cocaine. You would have to be trying to kill yourself. But now it's like nothing because there's fentanyl in it. And for my sons, it was fake Percocets.
Yeah, the story that I tell here, a friend of mine lost his son last year. A 19-year-old college kid went out on a weekend, smoked a joint. Didn't know it was laced with fentanyl. He died. 19 years old, good kid. And we could do stories like that all day, Rebecca, about people that have paid the price. So when you see these drug boats get blown out of the water, doesn't bother you in the least, does it?
No, I know that we're saving lives. We're defending America. That's our number one job. The number one job of the government really is to defend our people. And this has been a war, and the chief of national intelligence, the former chief of national intelligence for Venezuela, has explained that that was the whole plot, working with Hezbollah. Maduro had a plan to try to kill off Americans, and the cartels in Mexico are doing the same thing, and they need to be next.
I agree with that, and I think that Claudia Sheinbaum would be well informed that there's a warning that's been issued. We're not going to allow people to set up shop in the Western Hemisphere any longer, not China, not Russia, not Iran, not the drug cartels, to infiltrate America with their intelligence apparatus or with their poison. And the number that you hear routinely tossed around 100,000. But the truth of the matter is, a lot more people than that die every year because they go unreported. Much of it goes unreported.
And most counties don't do autopsies. And so I'm in groups with tens of thousands of parents in these groups, and they're regularly saying that they didn't get a toxicology. They didn't get any kind of verification. They get findings of suicide. They get findings of just a cocaine overdose when you know it's not. And so it doesn't get reported because there's not the right kind of finding. There's problems with coroners with even when they do an autopsy, like with my sons, instead of doing a finding of poisoning or homicide, or even saying that it was just a fentanyl toxicity. Instead, the coroner in Oakland County, Michigan, said that my sons died due to drug abuse. That's not even a real finding. That's not a scientific finding. And they have no idea what happened to my sons. There's children, babies dying from fentanyl because there's so much in powder form. And by the way, I don't know if you saw in Michigan, like 2 years ago, just one drug bust on Highway 94 in a sedan. There was enough fentanyl in powder form to kill the whole state of Michigan twice over. And so when the Cato Institute says that this is it's a demand problem, that's not what's happening. There's not a demand around the United States to kill the entire world multiple times over.
No.
They're stockpiling here, and I think
No, that's
every
dishonest from the
American,
that's dishonest from the Cato Institute. Look, they're a left of center organization. It's what I would expect them to say, to try to downplay it, to downplay your loss, your pain. I mean, you just said you're in these support groups, right? Where you talk to other parents, angel moms, angel dads whose children have died. And I just feel that the priority is not where it should be, because it should be on people like you who have paid a very high price for the reckless behavior of open borders, of, oh, it's just cocaine, of, oh, it's a demand problem. That's just reckless. And it's costing people their lives. In fact, there are people alive right now, this is sad, that will be dead by midnight. Dead by midnight today, right?
And people need to realize that, you know, if they think, oh, I don't have kids, it's not an issue for me, I'm not concerned. If you saw the amount that's being seized regularly, you have to realize that they're stockpiling for a reason. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Moscow theater siege in 2003, but the Russian government used fentanyl in aerosol form to kill not only all of the terrorists, but 140 of the hostages. And so this technology has been around, and it would be nothing for them to disperse this upon large groups of people in aerosol form. And so everyone should be concerned about what's going on here.
Are there groups today, anybody that's listening, that connects with your story? Are there support groups where you can direct people today to say, look, if you've lost somebody or you want to help, where can they go?
Well, there are a number of support groups that are strictly support groups, like Appalled, APALD, but my favorite is Lost Voices of Fentanyl, and that's really the largest, but it's more than a support group, it's an activism group. And that's what I wanted to be a part of. I want to be part of a solution. You know, it's miserable enough as is. And so I don't want to focus entirely on the loss, because that's in front of my face every day.
Right.
I want to look to make a difference. And Lost Voices of Fentanyl has been very involved in activism. Fentanyl Fathers has been involved in getting in schools and also in the activism. Because of them, we've had a line into the White House, and thanks to them, we've passed the Halt Fentanyl Act. And
Oh, there's action. I mean, what we saw in Caracas was just the latest hammer dropping. But I think that we're finally on the right path to returning hope to the war on drugs. Rebecca, really greatly appreciate you sharing your story. We'll talk again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, if you're worried about the drug dealers, your focus is in the wrong place. Ivy up next. Don't go anywhere. All right. 2026 off to a very quiet start. Right. Very quiet start, you know. Nick Shirley exposing fraud in Minnesota, gets attacked by the left for exposing fraud. Of course, we extract an illegitimate drug-dealing dictator from Venezuela. The left is now defending the dictator. My next guest has been under the weather a bit lately, but is fighting through it. A real trooper. There she is, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ivy. I mean, you've been fighting this thing. I thought it was gone, then it's back. I think we've been hearing this from a lot of folks. A lot of people battling the flu, upper respiratory, all of this. I guess it's the time of the year, right?
It is. Generally, if there's a high stress, a lot going on, people
getting in big groups of people.
Getting in big groups,
Well, you came off the airplane. You went down, visited family in Florida. You got off the airplane. Within 24 hours, you're like, uh-oh.
It's kind of hard to escape germs when you're in an airplane.
Yeah, all that air recirculating, yeah. Anyhow.
But yeah, I'm actually feeling a lot better, so that's a good thing.
Well, you look
great.
great.
Well, thank you. It's a good start to the new year. Are you raring and ready?
Well, we're already in this thing.
2026?
I mean, as you know, this whole thing with Venezuela blew up over the weekend, posted a couple of videos. They got a lot of attention and so forth, as did a lot of folks. But look, they extracted an illegitimate drug-dealing dictator who had invited in China and Russia and Cuba and Iran to set up shop.
All those countries absolutely loved pretty much free oil.
Yeah, they did. These people on the left saying, well, America's stealing their oil. The oil was going to China for free anyway. And let's be honest about this little history lesson. The United States and the United States oil companies began setting up infrastructure in Venezuela when it was an agrarian economy in the 1920s. And built all that infrastructure, and then built the refining capacity on the Gulf Coast.
And then essentially gave it to them to utilize.
That's right.
To, here's all the infrastructure, here are the refineries.
That's right.
Then you can, process your own oil. We'll go in partnership together, and then it's a win-win for both countries. But, it's so funny to hear, of course, there are a lot of incredible stories of the people in Venezuela pretty upset about Americans, saying, especially those Americans on the left who are outraged about the United States going in and removing Maduro. And they're like, you guys haven't even ever been here. I think a few months ago I went through just the deplorable conditions that are in Venezuela.
Well, Anthony has this video. He showed it earlier, and I'd like to show it again. Military vehicles driving over the citizens, killing them
they have no care.
Yeah, it was terrible. There it is, just ramming over people and killing them. Oh, by the way, John Fetterman just came out.
Oh yes, he's like, why can't we just say, hey, this is good for the country. This is good for Venezuela.
It's a success.
And we can't sit back and not say that Biden didn't,
do anything.
Do anything. He talked a tough game, but didn't do anything. Obama took out lots of folks through drone strikes.
15 countries, 90,000 bombs over 8 years of the Obama administration. I don't remember these senators like Chris Murphy.
It was also during that administration. It was a Democratic Senate and a Democratic.
Right. And where was Chris Murphy, who's out saying, oh, this is illegal, this is highly illegal?
There wasn't any outrage then, of course.
No, of course not. And he didn't need congressional approval to go drop bombs on 15 different countries, 90,000 bombs and all. I mean, it's just so disingenuous. They hate Trump so much.
Yeah.
This is like, I saw a meme on social media. I thought it was cute. It's got Donald Trump in a magician's outfit. For my next trick, I'll make the Democrats defend a socialist drug-dealing dictator. Boom. And they did. They're all out there defending Maduro. It's remarkable.
I did see on, was it AOL News, I kind of go on a lot of different places to see what's out there, and that they had actually found like the two people who were upset that Maduro was taken out, and they were Spanish-speaking folks. I don't know if they were Venezuelans or not. They didn't specify.
Well, I saw a guy who was Venezuelan showing the celebrations in Venezuela to these white liberal activists saying, no war in Venezuela, all this stuff. And it shows it to them, and they're just slack-jawed. They're like, well, we shouldn't do it. And he's like, people are celebrating. Oh, yeah, well, we shouldn't. It's just...
Yeah. They're not out there for that. They're out there because they're probably getting paid to be out there.
And they hate Trump.
And they hate Trump. And so anything that Trump does is an opportunity to go out there and protest.
Right.
Actually, we saw a protest in northern Michigan. There was like 5 people. And, you know, we drove
Yes, we
by
did.
it. At first, we thought it was a Venezuelan flag. I'm like, no, that's a Palestinian flag. That's definitely not the Venezuelan flag as we came up to it. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. It's like literally 15 degrees out, and you guys are out here, 5 of you.
5 of you.
Good for you.
Yeah, well done.
Anyhow, I do find it interesting, though, that Trump and Elon had dinner.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And, you
The
know.
bromance is back.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
I think, you know, having brilliant minds around the president's probably not a bad thing. And I love the work that he's done with Doge. And I know he's not particularly a part of that
Well, you
as
know,
much, but he did put into place the infrastructure for that.
You got
and I'm
the-
sure that there are some conversations continuing to go on.
Oh, I'm
about
sure.
How he can be helpful.
But Elon is an odd dude.
He sure
I mean, you and I, you got the audio version of the biography of Elon Musk. It is intense. He's intense, but he is weird.
Yeah, when he goes on what's called the surge, which is, you know, all hands on deck, nobody gets time off, everybody's working to, you know, move a project forward. And actually, that's very admirable. You know, you can't do out extraordinary things if you're just stuck in neutral all the time.
Or if you're just kind of doing
actually,
it.
one of my 2026 goals is to be more uncomfortable all the time. And the more uncomfortable you can be, the more you can grow. You know, everybody seeks comfort, and comfort is the enemy of progress. So.
I'll leave it here for this segment. But a year ago, one of the goals was to make sure you were on the program every day. That took you way out of your comfort zone. You've done great.
Well, thank you.
No, I mean, seriously, people pay attention. They comment on you. So moving out of your comfort zone, you can accomplish things. And I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
I'm proud of you, too.
Really?
Every day.
Every day. All right. Love you.
I love you.
All right. There you have it. From our new podcast set, by the way. We'll be talking about that in the days to come. I mean, we need more long form out here, not just, you know, segmented broadcast. So we'll be doing that. I'll have some final thoughts for this first full week of 2026 in a moment. You know, tomorrow here on the program, I think we're going to lay out, we're finalizing our goals for 2026, much of which involves this right here, what we do every day. How we inform you, how we discuss the big issues of the day, the big stories, the headlines, the breaking news, all of it. And then we're going to have the podcast, which I think we've got a name for it. I think we've settled on a name, but we'll share that in the next day or two. Because we do this for you. It's not about me. It's about you getting the best information possible. It's about, like Ivy said, she scours all these different sources. So do I. She looks at different things than I do just because she has a different take on things. Her focus is a little bit different sometimes. She looks at health. She looks at impact of education more than I do. And so she looks at different things. And so together, collectively, we try to give you the best product possible. The entire team does. Me, Ivy, Anthony, Sarah, all of us. Working every day for you. So if there are things that you want to hear about, or if you've got a great tip, go to stevegruber.com. Send it along. We'll investigate. I've got an entire news team at Michigan News Source, hungry for great stories, investigative stories, original reporting. So if you've got something, send it along to stevegruber.com. We'll look into it. Because, again, we're here working for you. And that's going to be my promise to you in 2026. We're going to work even harder. And that's saying something because we work damn hard as it is. But we want to be better, more responsive to the needs of you, the viewer, every single day. So I'm going to make that the number one priority for you here. And again, whatever you want to discuss, send us an email. Maybe you'll end up on the program. People do. They send us information. We say, hey, you know what? You should be a guest. And they come on. A lot of possibilities out there. A lot of possibilities. It was a great 25. 26, it's going to be better. Fight the good fight and keep the faith, my friends. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America.